The most innovative and hippest music on the jazz scene in the late 1980s came from saxophonist Steve Coleman. It was a very rhythmical kind of music with a cutting-edge funk feel. I enjoyed listening to it, although I didn't think that it was particularly significant. But then Steve Coleman's album Rhythm People came out in 1990 and impressed me deeply. It was incredible to me that musicians could play such complex rhythms. Clearly they were ingeniously constructed, but to me they were impenetrable. What was even more astonishing was that they generated such a strong, vital groove in spite of their complexity. And I was fascinated by their enigmatic flair. It wasn't just the rhythmic foundation of Steve Coleman's music that was so innovative, but also the kind of lines he played on the saxophone. They sounded refreshingly unusual, extremely agile, and markedly melodious. What made his melodic lines so fresh and captivating was on the one hand his unusual choice of tones, and on the other new exciting patterns of movement. I followed Steve Coleman's further releases and repeatedly compared his music with well-known works by John Coltrane, Miles Davis, and others. I found it every bit as artistic, complex, at the same time clear, incisive, and yet completely distinctive. Which is why I began to regard Steve Coleman as one of the great innovators of jazz history. Some years later, I came across a quote from the musician Don Byron, which confirmed my view, describing Steve Coleman as an exceptional personality of American music history. But for a long time, this assertion remained the only confirmation, even though I was constantly on the lookout for commentaries on Steve Coleman. In my eyes, we had here a master at work, ranking right up there with John Coltrane, Charlie Parker, and Ludwig van Beethoven, while only a handful of people recognized his significance. Of course, I questioned my view repeatedly, and I began seeking answers to the following question. What specific qualities mark out the well-known jazz masterpieces, and to what extent are these qualities present in Steve Coleman's music? The gradual appearance on the internet of a number of interviews, talks, and articles by Steve Coleman came to my aid in this respect. He not only commented on his own music, but also passed on his in-depth knowledge of the jazz tradition. He's an extraordinary expert on the music of Charlie Parker, John Coltrane and other old masters. And his development as young musician was influenced by direct contact with masters who were still performing in his hometown of Chicago at that time, principally with the little-known but magnificent Warren Freeman, with Sonny Stitt, Bunky Green, and others. In 2010, the renowned pianist Vijay Iyer said, "To me, Steve Coleman is as important as John Coltrane. He has contributed an equal amount to the history of music." Other notable musicians regarded Steve Coleman as the most influential innovator of his generation, working away in the background. Finally, I found a statement from Steve Coleman that Rhythm People was his first mature album, which confirmed my view on this matter as well. And so I came to change my outlook on recent jazz history. The creative jazz tradition flows through Steve Coleman in a very lively and consistent fashion to the present day. Find out more in the next video.